Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to talk about autism. For those of you who may not have watched previous videos since I've come back, I myself was diagnosed with autism 2 years ago, and it changed my life completely. A lot of things started to make sense to me, and I wanted to talk about traits, autistic traits that I have personally. Now, autism is extremely complex on many levels, and traits that autistic people experience is different from one autistic person to the next. If you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person, because their autism, their traits are very different to my autism and my traits. So that's just something to kind of remember, that we are still human beings and we're all unique and we're all different. It's just that traits can be both positive and negative. Now, before I get into it, I just want to say that what I'm going to talk about and the traits that I'm going to talk about are very normal human behaviors. So if you hear something here and you think, oh, that's me, that's my life, and then you start to panic and worry, please don't, because for neurotypical people who aren't autistic, these behaviors, these traits are normal to experience. It's just that for a neurotypical person, that means that they may have one of these traits and it doesn't impact them on a daily basis whatsoever. It doesn't have a negative effect on you, your life, your physical health, or your mental health. Now, for people who are autistic, we have these traits, and it won't just be one trait or two traits. It'll be several traits, like negative things, and then we also feel them on a much more intense level than a neurotypical person does. So it affects our lives on a much more impactful level. So, for someone to be autistic, you have to have several traits that constantly are bothering you and upsetting you and challenging you and are causing issues in your life, and then maybe seek an autistic diagnosis if that's what you feel it could be. So I don't want anyone to panic. I'm just trying to educate and help you understand what autism is. And more importantly, it's very personal to me, obviously, because it's my life and things have changed in the past couple of years. And there are negative and positive traits. So I'm going to start with the negative and I'm going to end with the positive, because, let's finish on a high, as to say. So I think the most important one for me is the very stereotypical view of autism. Now, a lot of people just 100% believe that autistic people, every single one of us, can't feel emotions, that we are robots, and that we're just dangerous or something like that. But we'll talk more about the emotions right now. I am that stereotype. I have a lack of empathy, I have a lack of guilt, and I have a lack of jealousy. And these are three very important emotions to have to make human connections, friends, relationships, jobs. You need those kinds of emotions, and if you're not diagnosed and you don't understand that you are lacking in those things, it becomes very stressful and confusing. I grew up every day believing I was a psychopath, that there was something very wrong with me, because I just didn't have those feelings of empathy or guilt. Like, I could do or say things that normal people would never say, but for me, it just never evoked any kind of guilt in me. So I always tried to push the boundaries. I was gonna say push the boundaries, but I used to try to push the boundaries of what humans are capable of in a lot of ways. And I know it sounds really crazy, but not having that guilt tied to me meant I could do some pretty horrible things, which I have done in the past. Now, I'm not saying like autism is an excuse for those actions. It's just one of the reasons why I was able to do and say certain things in my life. Even responding to YouTube comments, it's just because I had a lack of guilt. Now, lack of empathy is difficult for me, because I do feel some empathy, but it's more tied to me directly and things that are happening to me. But when those things happen to me, even though I have a little bit of empathy, I get very confused about the logical reasons of why they're happening to me. So I usually go into a massive meltdown, and I'll talk about autistic meltdowns in another video. But because I don't understand those emotions very well, it's very hard for me to deal with certain situations, and I just freak out and go crazy and just angry, ballistic mode. But when it comes to lack of empathy, when I talk about what that is, say me and you are in a classroom at school, let's just say that, and a teacher tells you that there's been a massive tsunami in Japan. It's killed hundreds of thousands of people. It's destroyed the entirety of Japan. Neurotypical people who have that empathy, and I'm not saying everyone has empathy, but the majority of people will be like, oh my god, this is terrible, this is horrible, and I'd get actually upset. It would evoke emotions in them of being upset. Now for me, being an autistic person, and I didn't even know at the time, I was masking those feelings. And masking in autism means that we kind of pretend to fit in, so we copy someone else's mannerisms and how they're feeling and what they're doing. So I would look at someone who's upset about this thing, and my brain would be like, okay, I need to be upset about this, and then I would put it on and pretend and mask. But realistically, I don't care. And I'm not saying that to be horrible, it's just the way my brain works. Because I'm autistic, those emotions just don't exist for me. So it's very hard for me to tie any kind of personal empathy to someone that I don't know, someone that I don't care about, something that's happening on the other side of the world. Yes, I understand that it's sad, and I understand that it's serious, but that empathy just doesn't click in my body. And you know, something more a little bit closer to home, like you see some videos online of dogs being abused, and while it makes me angry because I want to get those guys and kill them, you know, the empathy side of it is different for me. Because a lot of people would be like, oh my god, this is so sad, this dog's being hurt. But for me, it's more, I want to kill that person rather than worrying about how sad it is for the dog. And I know that's really complex and confusing, but try living with that for 30 years where those emotions are that confusing on a day-to-day basis. And lack of jealousy is just another one, but you know, it's just those similar kind of emotions I just don't connect to or feel or can appropriately express them in the correct situations. Some of the other little traits that I have, and I'm trying to remember them all because I talk about this so often, so much that, you know, things blur together and I forget things, and then next day I'll be like, oh man, I should have said that. So I have no temperature regulation, which can be dangerous. You know, if I went to Florida plenty of times to visit my ex-fiance, and I would walk around in the blistering heat with a hoodie on, because I, as an autistic person, I like specific clothes, specific fabrics. That, you know, my body is sensitive to different types of fabrics and stuff. So if I'm wearing a collared shirt, I feel like I'm choking. But I am the most comfortable in myself when I'm wearing a hoodie. So I would go over to Florida and, you know, I would absolutely be roasting, I'd be sweating, it's bad for my health, but my temperature regulation would make me feel like I'm normal, like I'm not feeling any heat whatsoever. And then on the other end of that, you know, I could be extremely cold and not realize how cold I am. So, but it works out sometimes as well, because like I said, I can be in a really hot place and not feel the heat. It's just one of those situations where if my temperature regulation is making me feel extremely hot, and then it's also extremely hot outside, I'm dead for that day. I can't do anything, my energy's gone, I'm drained. Oh, got a little bit of a hiccup there. The other thing for me when it comes to like textures, sensitivity, is food. Now, a lot of autistic children, you know, they get put into this pigeonhole of, oh, you're just picky with food, just eat vegetables, just eat that, you know, like instead of just having, because some people who have autism eat the same thing every day, every meal. Like if I could have a cheeseburger every single day, I would, without a shadow of a doubt, because that is something that I'm comfortable with. It's something that I trust. It feels nice in my mouth to eat. It's got a good texture, it's got a good taste. But you know, something like vegetables for me is very specific on a day if my body is having the idea of, I wouldn't mind eating those vegetables today. But I can remember way back when I was younger, my mom would cook every single day, and some days I'd be fine, other days I would just absolutely hate eating food. And when you're eating food and we're not forced to eat food, but you know, back in the day I didn't know I was autistic, so I just ate this food to fit in because everyone else is eating it. But it caused me massive anxiety and stress about food, because you know, I didn't understand why I was having such negative reactions to some foods and not other foods. And then I also go through phases of foods as well. So I could have, you know, fish fingers or fish every single day because that is what my brain and body wants. And then one day I'll just be like, I don't want this ever again, and I won't eat fish for like 2 years. So I'd have to find something else that I want to eat. So food is quite difficult for me. And I think anyone who's probably been out with me to any restaurant or food place or whatever, they will know that I always just have a burger. Because even though burgers change from place to place, I trust the burger. You know, I can feel that a burger across the board is going to be comfortable for me to eat. And the only other thing about food is that I can't have food touching at all. If I'm having anything that's kind of like bean-like with juice, if that touches the main part of my dinner, so like fish or chicken, that's it, it's going in the bin, because I just no, food can't touch at all, because it just ruins the consistency and the texture of those foods. No. Another big thing for me that's a negative trait is impulse spending. I often just think of buying something, I search for it to see what kind of price it is, I check my bank to see if I have enough money, and I buy it straight away. I don't think about what bills might be coming out. I don't think about, you know, what else I might need that money for, or what's happening in the next month. And that can lead to me, you know, struggling to live day to day financially. Especially when I was doing YouTube and I was earning ridiculous amounts of money, I could just spend and spend and spend because I knew I had loads of money at the time. But when I came out of YouTube and my money dwindled, you know, from month to month, it became very difficult for me to balance and control my impulse spending. If it hasn't already been up yet, there will be a video on my pop vinyl collection, and I have something like 260 pop vinyls, and they are the main source of my impulse spending, because I see one and I think I like it and I just buy it straight away without thinking. So yeah, especially when it comes to something like a special interest, or for lack of a better word, an obsession, which a lot of autistic people have. It's a special interest, but other people see it as being obsessed by something, which is kind of true, but obsession has, you know, major negative connotations to it. So when it comes to pop vinyls, I'm just like buy, and I just buy too many. I mean, they're all stacked up over here on the side. I don't even have them on the wall because there's just too many. Like, there's just too many. I've got to stop, I've got to slow down, but I can't help it. I also do have an extreme sensitivity to the sunlight and bright lights. You know, that's different from heat, but you know, it's in the same vein. Okay, the only way I can explain it is when it's a really sunny day, because when I'm in here, apart from this bright white light that's on right now, which is, you know, tailored to point away from you and be spread around by an umbrella, so it's not as intense. Apart from that, I have like a 40-watt light bulb, so it's like dark and dingy, and I just prefer darkness around me. So when I go outside and it's super sunny, like, I physically feel like a ball of intensity and stress and pain just building up behind my eyes in my brain, and it just soaks and drains the energy out of me. And you know, even if I'm wearing sunglasses, it will still have that same effect, because I just unfortunately have an intense sensitivity to light, which can obviously make going out day to day, having social life, quite difficult, because you know, you can't really be going out and just moaning about the light and being upset every single day when you're around other people. Right, we're going to get onto the positive ones now. I'm sure I'm probably missed out some negative ones, but this one, for me, I can't determine whether it's negative or positive, because it works in both categories, and that is, I have black and white thinking. Now, if you don't know what that means, it's an extremely logical point of view from myself about anything across the board. Now, this world, every interaction you have in every walk of life is a major grey area, and what that means is that you have to kind of give and take. So even if someone is totally illogical, you know, this happens a lot in relationships. You know, when something doesn't agree with you, sometimes you kind of have to bend the knee to make the relationship work, or same in employment as well. But I have black and white thinking, and that's extremely right, wrong, logical, illogical. So I get into a lot of arguments and a lot of problems and a lot of frustrations with people, because I know and I'm confident in my ability and my intelligence that when someone says something to me which is completely false, completely wrong, or, you know, they know that they're wrong, but they're just trying to, you know, trick me or something into believing that there's a middle ground, for me, it's like, no, I will go to war over this very tiny little thing to prove you wrong, because that's what's right, because that's what's logical. So I lost a lot of friendships and a lot of social groups for those actions. Now, at the time, obviously, didn't know I was autistic. So for me, it was very much just about an intelligence thing, that I'm more intelligent than those people. But since I've been diagnosed with autism, I still am more intelligent than those people. No, I'm just kidding. But I've learned to understand that the world isn't always black and white. So I've learned to kind of pull myself back from those instant gut reactions to just jump on things and be like, no, that's illogical. No, that's wrong. You know, I still fight those fights when I feel they're necessary, but, you know, black and white thinking can be quite a problem in a lot of different ways. But I also believe that it's a great form of communication, because I never say anything that I just don't mean. Like, there's no hidden message with me. I just say what I think. I just say it, you know what I mean? So people can take offense to it, but it's just a quicker route to get to the information that I want to put out. You know, it's just like, here, deal with it, you know. So, you know, once I learn that middle ground and the understanding of black and white thinking in a grey world, I've kind of learned to navigate it a little bit better, and I'm in a lot healthier place because I have learned those things. Now, I'm excited to talk about the positive things, because these are things that I didn't know were autistic traits that I thought everybody else in the world had. That I thought they were just normal human things that people have, and I also have them as well. But a lot of these things are special to autistic people, and some of the things that I experience in a way that no one else in the world does, and that is just mind-blowing to me. So the first one I'll just say is the English language. From a very young age, you know, I was just obsessed with words, dictionaries, English teachers, English lessons. You know, my English teacher would have a whole lesson and I would write down every single word he said verbatim. I think that's the right word. I say I have an interest in the English language, and I don't even know if I'm using verbatim right, but it's 2:30 in the morning, so I'm tired. But I am hyperlexic, which means basically that when I was younger, I was reading at a level far beyond what I should have been capable at that age. And my vocabulary was immense and huge, and has been all my life. Unfortunately, I learned to disguise it and not use fancy words, and I've kind of just got used to that now. So even though I have a huge vocabulary, I don't use it very often, and that is because, you know, for my autistic brain, English and the language and words is just something that just clicks with me, and I just absolutely love it. I love words and the English language. It's kind of hard to explain, and I know that, you know, normal people, neurotypical people will also like the English language, but for me it's just like, it makes me feel whole. It calms me down, it focuses me when I'm thinking of words, when I'm reading books, and it puts me into a place that I can't even explain in words. It just makes me feel like a real person, which is the strangest way that I can put it, but it just means so much to me in my soul, you know, being around the English language and books and stuff like that. You know, special interests as well, like I said, the pop vinyls, you know, collecting pop vinyls. A lot of autistic people collect things, whether that be coins, stamps, you know, toy trains, things like that. For me, it's pop vinyls, and the joy I get just from looking over at them right now, it just makes me feel happy. Like, I look at them and I genuinely feel happy, and that's a very rare thing for me, or at least previous to my diagnosis, was just feeling genuinely happy without burden. And now I realize that these pop vinyls have been carrying me for a very long time, because they're just there to make me feel comfortable, to make me feel connected to something in the world. And, you know, it's my own little collection. I get to pick and choose which ones I want. You know, I have very special meaning pop vinyls to myself, you know, certain characters and things like that. All types of comics and gaming as well, which are other special interests of mine. Obviously, gaming, YouTube became my career for a very specific reason, because it was one of my special interests. I've been playing games for God knows how long. When I was 13, 14, playing Unreal Tournament 99, you know, I was playing at a ridiculously high level. I was, you know, playing people 1v1 game battles. I was top of the UK 1v1 league for a specific mode in Unreal Tournament 99. So, you know, being good at games, not so much anymore because I've got older and I just don't care that much about gaming, but gaming is in my roots, is in my blood. The same with comics as well. You know, one of the traits that I think I experience, and a lot of other autistic people, but something that means a lot to me, is nighttime. So I've always been a late bird. You know, I always stay up till 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm doing YouTube, whether I'm not doing YouTube. I will sit up and read Twitter till like 6 a.m. because, you know, sensitivity to light is obviously one of my things, and at night everything's dark. You know, everyone's in bed, it's all quiet, it's all silent, and it just helps me refocus on a day-to-day basis. So if I've had like a particularly stressful, anxiety-filled day, that nighttime period of time for me is just, it's a godsend, because it just allows me to calm down, it allows me to focus, get away from everything. There's no sound, nothing, and it just heals me for that day. So yeah, I know it's probably the same for a lot of neurotypical people, but I promise you that autistic people and myself feel it on a much more impactful level when it's good or bad. So yeah, the last two things are what I was saying is that like I thought everyone had them. Now I have an incredible memory and an incredible imagination. So when I first discovered this after I'd been diagnosed with autism, I was speaking to someone who was talking about their earliest memory was when they were like 9 or 10, and they were around my age as well. And I was thinking 9 or 10, I was like, surely earlier than that. And I remember one of my earliest memories, one of the most vivid memories for me, is when I was about 4 years old, 3 to 4 years old. I was sitting at the dinner table in my previous house, and it was the very first time that I picked up my plate and took it out to the kitchen so that my mom could wash it. Now, for me, it's so vivid and my imagination and memory is so clear that I can now live in that memory. So that memory plays out the way that it should. But me as a full-grown human, I can be in that memory in a different position. So I remember I was at the end of the table and I picked it up, turned around and walked in a straight line. But now I can put myself into a different position in that room and watch that memory play out. So, you know, I'm at the end of the table as a kid, but now I'm sitting on the side of the table watching me as a kid take the plate out. Now, obviously, I wouldn't really recognize my own face as a kid because how often do you really see your own face? But, you know, I see me in that chair, stand up, turn around from a place where it's impossible to know because you're first person, but I'm now watching it as a third person or a fourth person, whatever that's called when you're looking at something. So yeah, I know that sounds really complex and really strange, but I've always been able to do it with memories, like, and that can be bad too as well, because when bad things have happened, I can put myself into those memories and it sucks. Trust me, it sucks. But overall, I love the fact that I can recall things from so long ago so vividly. And on top of that, and the best thing for me, the best, most positive thing, is listening to music. Now, I thought this was the same for everyone, and I've spoken to many neurotypical people about this specifically, and they say that they have never experienced music the same way that I experience music. And it's strange. So when you hear a piece of music as a neurotypical person, or so I've been told, because obviously I can't hear it like a neurotypical person, when you listen to a tune of any stature, you hear one part of that song at a time. So, you know, if it's a rap song, you might listen to the words. If it's a big ballad by Adele, you might listen to the pitch or the tone. Some people listen to the melody in the background. Like EDM, you listen to the very specific melody that's playing throughout the song. And that can be the same across all types of music. Most people listen to music listening to one part of a track. But for me, when I listen to music, I hear every aspect of a track simultaneously. So I can hear the drums, I can hear the snare, I can hear any kind of instrument that's playing. You know, I can hear the ad-libs, I can hear the words, I can hear the melody, all at the same time. And my brain distinctly separates those, you know, those levels of the track so that I can hear them individually. So if I'm enjoying the drums, I can turn down the volume on everything else in that song and just solely listen to the drums. I can do the same with the words, you know, I can put everything out and I can just listen to the words. And that is exactly how I learned, you know, from a very young age, nearly every single Eminem song in existence was because I could just focus on the words and then I could write them down and practice them without, you know, having the track in the background to distract me. On top of that, you know, every single day I listen to every type of music. I listen to metal as well as, you know, like rap, as well as hip hop, pop. I listen to all types of music because it encompasses me. So what that means is I can hear every level of the track and it focuses my brain. It pulls me into a point, you know what I mean? So if everything's scatty, I'm all over the place, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, music will kind of force me into this little box by bombarding me with sounds. And these are sounds that I've chosen to listen to. So because I can hear all levels of that track, it crushes my brain down into a focused place and it's something that I can't explain, and I really wish that I could. But being able to hear, you know, ad-libs, drums, snares, guitars, pianos, all in one piece of music, and also listen to the words, it's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's a wonderful thing, and I really wish other people, you know, as far as I know anyway, the people I've spoken to, I really wish everyone could experience music in the way that I do, because it's incredible. And I'm really not trying to sound pompous or egotistical, but I'm just going on by what I've been told by other people, because for the longest time I thought everyone experienced these things in the exact same way, but apparently it's more likely to be an autistic thing, to be able to hear music and listen to music and experience music in a very different way. And yeah, I'm sure I'm missing some things, some traits, but you know, I just wanted to explain how autism and learning about autism has changed my life, and you know, to be appreciative of the positive things, to be able to cope with the negative things and have coping mechanisms in place, and just learn about traits and autism in general. There'll be more videos like this. Sorry that this one's a little bit lengthy. If you got all the way to the end, you know, type Marshmallow Man, and I'm only saying that because the Marshmallow Man pop vinyl's right in front of me when the camera's standing on top of it. Yeah, so you know, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Hit the like button if you wish to, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you for watching. I've been easynow. You guys have been awesome.